And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is another patron roster review. This is ThaneKyrell from Cantina Lords, and he's a large dolphin, been playing for over 2.5 years, so been around since a very long time ago, has a high territory war focus, and really just wants me to kind of look at the roster to see how he can round out his roster, specifically which characters or factions he should be maybe looking at, and then what Zetas are going to make those particular factions pop and give him the best bang for his buck, so the fewest amount of Zetas to make teams really click. And so I've got some ideas also on Fleet. He wanted me to kind of take a look at Arena and Fleet, and Arena and Fleet are doing phenomenal. What's really cool about this is if you look, he's running all First Order and for the Fleet. And this is why, and this is amazing, and this is why he's gone all in on First Order. It's amazing. So anyway, I love it. I think it's great. I am excited that for Fleet you're able to run First Order, that you're this hyper excited about First Order. And if you are going to do a faction like this, going all in is awesome. So of course, because of that, it does only make sense to go ahead and have all of these ships being utilized in your initial 3 lineup. The only thing I'll say about ships, and I know that you are working on and developing the geos, is that you, for territory wars, because you have that focus, having a good defense and having a good offense, having one of each is really, really important. And so making sure that since you have an amazing team, you can climb number 1 in every day in Arena, to really start focusing on an alternate team. And the Geonosians are really, in my opinion, the most synergistic team in the game. I've been saying that since a couple of months before Ships 2.0 came out. When I did the interview with the developers, I've said the Geos were going to be amazing. So I still stick to that. The ships are actually more important. So getting all of the abilities maxed out, with their uniques being the ones you want to max out first, then their basics, and then you can go to their uniques. But the characters do need to be geared up at some point, especially for the abilities on the ships. You got to get them to at least gear 11, but every little bit helps with damage and with their damage numbers and their health and their speeds. But you really got to max them out to get all those speeds, and they are the 3 slowest ships in the game, but it doesn't really matter with the amount of damage they can do, and they're really good on offense. And so they'd be a great offense team if you were putting your First Order on defense, or vice versa. You could put these guys on defense and use your other guys on offense. You're using Phantom 2, Poe, and of course you said Cassian, and he's looking pretty good. And of course your First Order TIE Fighter on your backups, and so that's really good. And so let's go ahead and go through really quick, just so everybody can kind of see where you're at with ships. You're doing pretty good. You've got most of them geared up and leveled up, and all in all, ships, you got a really nice assortment. Let's go to characters. And so for characters, you've got quite a few gear 12. You've got quite a few amazing characters here. Got a lot of Zetas, including right there a Basilishan Zeta at 4 stars, so excellent. And you can keep kind of scrolling down, and you can see the lesser the priority character and the lower the gear, and that's, so far it's looking pretty good. Now, you did want to have me go over a couple of characters and or factions and Zetas, so I'm going to go over a couple of characters. I feel like that you may want to Zeta / develop. The first is L3. Now, she's totally bugged right now, and hopefully they'll fix her bugs soon, but regardless of the bug, she's a phenomenal droid. She works really well with droids, and we know there's going to be a potential future droid meta, and so because of that, this is one of those characters you're going to want to take a good hard look at for gearing. You got her to gear 8. She's 3 stars, and you got her abilities to level 7, but you may want to consider the opportunity of taking her up, for now anyway, at 3 stars up to gear 11, staging her there, and then getting her to gear 12 when it's time, because I think she's going to be an integral part of a droid team, and she'll work really well in your existing droid teams for territory wars. And so that's the first one. Now, as far as a few side Zeta projects, the first one for Territory Wars would be her leadership. Darth Treya's leadership, Treya Triumvirate lead is still a really phenomenal defensive team for Territory Wars, and in my opinion works much better than Emperor Palpatine lead for Territory Wars, because of the Imperial troopers with Range Trooper able to just walk through Emperor Palpatine leads now, and Basta LaShawn's teams now walking through Emperor Palpatine teams, it just doesn't seem like the Emperor Palpatine lead's going to be the way to go. And so it really seems like Darth Trey is probably the way to go. And so you definitely want to Zeta her lead. Another would actually be Rey Scavenger, and I know this sounds weird, but her Zeta allows for her anytime that she's hitting to basically, as long as she's not debuffed, she's going to be able to put out Daze. And Daze is a really, really good mechanic for territory wars and territory battles, and the more characters you have that daze, the better. And so by giving her the Zeta, she's going to be able to daze potentially on all of her basic and her 2 specials. And she's already a powerhouse attacker, and it's a character you should be using. The only problem is she gets countered, and she's a glass cannon. The Daze makes it so that way they don't counter, so she's less of a glass cannon. So definitely one of those that's kind of someone that people haven't thought about or talked about in a long time, but is definitely a worthwhile Zeta. I have it, and I love it for territory battles and territory wars. Even at 4 stars, Gear 11, Infest Nest, Zeta is worth it. Being able to target whoever, whenever, is a huge deal. Only character to ever truly be able to do that at any time. And so this Zeta is definitely worth it. Nest is a solid PvP character, and Territory Wars is all about PvP. So this is one of those that I would definitely highly consider. So Traya, Scavenger Rey, and Nest, all 3 great Zetas that you should seriously consider. Now let's go into a couple of factions I think that you would benefit from taking a look at. That's right, Bounty Hunters. Now, what's really cool about them is they're needed for territory battles, and they just got new bonuses a few months back with the Territory Wars. And so now they're actually really good as a defensive team for Territory Wars. And what's really cool about these guys is all you need is Bosk's leadership. You don't even need his Taunt Zeta, and you don't need any of the other Bounty Hunter Zetas. Just take these bad boys to Gear 11 or Gear 12 if you feel like it, with Bosk gearing him up. You can now farm Bosk. He is on a 20 node hard node farm, and I've been doing that for myself, and it's an absolute nightmare. But I would start farming and gearing Bosk, and his 1 Zeta turns this team from a bleh team to a wow team. He is that's one of the biggest impact Zetas you can do. It's kind of like General Veer's Zeta for the Imperial Troopers. It's basically the exact same thing. 1 Zeta away from this team popping and being absolutely amazing. Now, you've got a few of these characters. You're wondering, who should I develop? Who shouldn't I develop? I would actually not develop Cad Bane, and I would develop everyone else. Now, Boba Fett and IG-88 are basically done. So you're looking at Greedo, Dengar, Zam, and Bosk. And I would probably on defense put Bosk lead with Boba Fett, Greedo, Dengar, and Zam, leaving out IG-88 and Cad Bane. Cad Bane because he's trash, and IG-88 because you can use him with other droids, such as L3. So I would definitely work on the Bounty Hunters. I would make them the top faction priority if it was me, for a faction for Territory Wars to take a look at. And I have another Territory Wars character for you, and that is Chief Chirpa and the Ewoks. That's right, I still use the Ewoks. I can destroy JTR teams when people use them. I can destroy a lot of times the CLS-led Rebel teams, because you can apply Daze and attack them and they won't counter. I can also take out First Order teams very easily, surprisingly. You would think, even with a Barasafi with the First Order, that, with all that health gain and stuff, that you wouldn't be able to crit high enough. But I don't know what it is about the Ewoks. They do enough damage that they overcome that pretty easily. And so pretty crazy. This is just a really good solid faction, and the only character you need a Zeta on is Chief Chirpa. That's right, Chief Chirpa. Now the bottom one you have is Ewok Scout. You can ignore, and you can also ignore Tebow, who happens to be already fully developed for the most part. So what you're looking at is the top row, the right 5, Ewok Elder, Chirpa, Wicket, Logray, and Poplu. And you're going to want to get them to Gear 11, 7 stars with their abilities maxed. And if you can get their Omegas on them, great. I would focus on the Omegas on their basics. And the reason is their basics always say, if they're called to assist, they give themselves and the assisting ally plus whatever. One of it's tenacity, another one's crit chance up, another one's crit damage up. So there's all these like buffs that they give each other when they call each other to assist. And so I highly recommend those basics first, because then when they call each other to assist, they buff each other with all the shared buffs, kind of like the uniques on Phoenix, but it's on the basics for Ewoks. So definitely would suggest Ewoks for territory wars. They're also great for territory battles. If you focus on bounty hunters and Ewoks, you'll have another dark side team for territory battles and wars, and you'll have another light side team for territory battles and wars, and you're only one Zeta away from bounty hunters being viable and one Zeta away from Ewoks being viable. One Zeta, that is not bad at all. All right, ThaneKyrell, you're looking like you're doing really well. Like I said, you're taking number 1 each day. If you start to have trouble with any of the trail leads, know that you can always throw in a Darth Nihilus in your team. Sub in Darth Nihilus, and he'll make sure to get through there. But it looks like you're having no trouble whatsoever. And I know you're having fun in Fleet with your first order. And like I said, L3 would be a droid on the side I'd kind of take a look at, possibly developing up to Gear 11. Don't worry about the stars for now. And then the possible Zeta on Ray Scavenger, the lead on Treya, and Nest's Zeta. Those are 3 just kind of side Zetas. I would focus on Geonosians for your fleet for territory wars, both the characters and the 3 ships to really max out, so you have another alternate territory war team. And of course, bounty hunters and Ewoks as your 2 new character teams or sets of teams to focus on that are really going to make everything pop. That's a whole lot to focus on. That'll probably keep you busy for the next 3 to 6 months, but I think it will really serve you well in the long haul. If you have any other ideas or questions, you can ask for me privately on Discord and ask me them there. And if anybody else has any thoughts on the roster, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. And as always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.